Down by the docks, that's the place to be. Down by the docks, gateway to the sea. Down by the dockside, we are a team. We're working together, just like family. Down by the docks, you're never on your own. Down by the docks, it's really home from home. Down by the dockside, down by the dockside. Down by the dockside is where we want to be. What's up, guys? It's Timmy Tate 2009. And it's finally time for yet another N-Scale Thomas and Friends review. Dude, they just keep on coming, don't they? Like, I'm surprised that the series is still continuing even after 4 videos. That's just because I have a lot of really cool N-Scale models to talk about, which is very surprising. And if you read by the title of this one, we're going to Brenham Docks with this one. Because today, we're taking a look at Salty the Dockyard's Diesel and Cranky the Crane. Now, these two have to be some of my favorite models I've ever done. Cranky mostly, but Salty's still pretty cool, though. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So, Salty and Cranky seem to be like very interesting characters, since Cranky is just a standard crane who doesn't go anywhere, but yet he still has a nice character trait. An interesting storyline. As for Salty, well, he is pretty interesting, although I don't think he has as much depth as Cranky does. And later we would see some new Dockside members added as well. But these two are the OGs right here, since I do prefer the series 1 through 7, the classic era. I do have a lot more other N-Scale models to talk about soon, so my next one's probably going to be about on the Magic Railroad characters, and I'll possibly do more videos, depending on which ones I want to talk about. So there should be more interesting N-Scale videos coming along the way, so I hope you're all excited. And I hope you're excited for this review, because it's going to be quite a special one, since Cranky seems to be one of the more interesting characters. The way I'm doing these reviews is like, I'm talking about some of my favorite N-Scale models and some of the more interesting characters that a lot of people seem to really enjoy. And Cranky's no exception here. So sit back and relax and enjoy the sounds of the docks as we go and talk about Salty and Cranky. Please enjoy. So, first let's talk about Salty the Dockside Diesel here. Now, Salty is a pretty interesting character. He was the first one to be added to Season 6, aka the weakest season of the classic series, in my opinion, of course. I mean, if you do like Season 6, that's okay. This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to say that Season 6 is a terrible season, because there's some things I really love about it. Like, there are a few good episodes. The characters are all nice. Alec Baldwin still does an occasionally good job voicing them, like giving Salty a pirate accent, making Elizabeth sound all snooty and rude, and I love it. Although he sadly regressed from doing his best character voices from Season 5. Gordon, Henry, Bill, Ben, and Duncan. Bill and Ben especially, and I love his Duncan voice as well. And I am a little sad that none of the characters ever spoke again, like George and Stepney. And we didn't get to see other old characters come back, like Boko and Duke. Seriously, they had so much potential, and yet they just chose not to bring them back. A sad day for the entire Thomas community, because we all love Boko and Duke. Anyways, back to Salty. So, Salty was first introduced in the very first episode, Salty's Secret. And first he used to work at the quarry with Mavis, even though he really wanted to go to the dock side, which he ends up doing in the very end, thanks to Sir Topham Hatt. And since then, Salty has always remained at Brenham Docks, like having interactions with Cranky, and just telling stories about the sea. Like, Salty seems like a pretty nice guy. He's another one of those kind diesels like Mavis, Boko, and Rusty. Daisy can be a little bit snooty, but she's still pretty nice. At least she isn't as bad as other Diesels like Devious Diesel himself, Arian Burt, Diesel 10, and Splodge. I mean, although, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Splatter and Dodge might have reformed when they betrayed Diesel 10 in Magic Railroad. Or maybe they might have just, like, betrayed him and then just still acted evil. I don't know. I really don't know what happened to Splodge after Magic Railroad because we never saw him again. Basically, in Season 6, they just ignore Magic Railroad's existence. You don't see any of the characters come back, you don't hear any mentions of Magic Railroad, and they just continue the series as normal. Now, I know a lot of people say that Magic Railroad is what ruined Thomas and Friends, but personally, I feel like Hit Entertainment and Mattel cut corners too much. Because Mattel was just trying to make Thomas as popular as any other modern kid show, while Hit Entertainment was just trying to appeal to a younger audience. However, Brett Alcroft wanted Thomas to get bigger as a franchise and gain even more of a bigger fan base. And to be fair, Thomas and Magic Railroad did good in terms of merchandise, and it did introduce a lot of new kids to the show, and they all immediately became fans because of the movie. So, anyways, I don't know what to say about Salty. I just think he's pretty cool. I love his sea stories. I do like his pirate accent. I think Alec Baldwin, and especially Michael Brandon, do a good job. If I had to choose what my favorite Salty episode is, I'm probably going to say, like, I love almost every episode he appears in. No Sleep for Cranky was pretty funny. I mean, it was pretty good. That's all I have to say about that. Salty Stormy Tale, on the other hand, let me tell you, that was a pretty epic and awesome episode. Since Salty is taking Fergus and they have to fix a lighthouse because of a storm, and it's pretty nice. And I like how Salty comes up with the idea of using Fergus's flywheel to power the generator. Like, Salty is pretty interesting. Now, I feel like Salty is one of those side characters who didn't really get flanderized that much in the Hit era. He still acts relatively the same. Like, he still talks about the sea. He still tells stories. Meanwhile, the main cast is just acting completely out of character for no reason. That's the same case with all the other side characters. They aren't really, like, too different from how they were in the classic series. They still act the same, although we don't really see Duck and Oliver that often. That's one of the biggest reasons why I don't like seasons 8 through 12, because they always keep focusing on the same characters over and over again. What made Thomas and Friends so special in the first place is that it didn't just focus on one character. It focused on every other character in the show. And not to mention, Thomas doesn't appear in every single episode, unlike All Engines Go. So anyways, Salty here is another pretty interesting model right here, but I still don't know what to cover for him personality-wise. But still, he's pretty cool. Now, Cranky, on the other hand, oh man, where do I start with Cranky? Ever since Cranky was first introduced in the TV show, I always thought he was a pretty interesting character for the fact that he's probably like the first TV show exclusive character. Unless you don't count Smudger, who's just the predecessor to Stanley from the Railway series. And also, Cranky here came out very splendidly. Like, look at this. Like, I think his face is pretty cool. His overall design just makes him stick out compared to other engines. Like, he's basically just this... Well, as his name implies, he's very cranky. He calls the small engines bugs in the episode Cranky Bugs. And then during a storm, he falls over, which is pretty hysterical. And then Thomas and Percy help him. In No Sleep for Cranky, he's just very grumpy because he doesn't ever get any sleep. The only company are the gulls that sit on his arm. And he's always being annoyed by Salty telling his stories. And then he, like, traps everyone at the docks by dropping pipes onto the tracks. And then there's Thomas in the jet engine, where he just, like, turns on the jet engine and just Thomas goes flying down the tracks. Like, dude, Cranky does so much, even though he can't move. Like, having interactions with all the other trains and, like, being very rude to some engines like Edward and Edward's Brass Band, and I do remember that he does make a lot of other appearances in like other episodes. And eventually they did add Carly the Crane and Big Mickey, but I still think Cranky is pretty awesome. So, you're probably wondering how I made Cranky here. Well, now the crane arm actually does move up and down, which is pretty nice. I love the articulation on Cranky. Now the hook doesn't really go down, unfortunately. I just wanted to like make something simple. Like if I actually made a detailed version of Cranky, I probably would have his hook like where you can like lower it down and up when you're lifting cargo. But I don't know, like I just thought that would be like, first I would have to like find some way to make a little like cable here, so that way his crane arm could, so that you could like spin the crank on the side and like have his crane go up and down, kind of similar to like how the Take Along and Wooden Railway Cranky do. And the head does actually turn. Right, let me see if I can do this without breaking him. I mean, it's very hard, but hold on. Yeah, his head does turn, although it's a little bit wobbly. Like, it's kind of hard to like hold the camera and move him at the same time. I can move his crane arm very easily, but it would be nice to turn his head. And his head also is on a ball joint. Like, it's a little bit weird that Cranky has this type of neck. But still, aside from that one little thing, Cranky aesthetically looks pretty interesting. Like, look at this. Like, I'm surprised this is one of the few 3 printed versions of Cranky I have made so far. Like, this is one of the reasons why I love Harvey, because you can actually, like, rotate his crane arm, and later on we'll see Diesel 10 soon, and he has a movable claw. Anyways. So, what else do I think about Cranky here? Not much else. Like, he's pretty interesting, like, for the fact that he's just this crane who doesn't move, and yet he somehow still has a lot of interactions with other engines, and always being, like, very rude, and, like, causing just random chaos at the docks, like, dropping stuff, and, like, being knocked over, and, like, just being grumpy at most engines, like Bill and Ben and Salty, and like I said, being rude to engines like Thomas and Percy, like, especially Henry from, like, Something in the Air. Like, dude, Cranky is pretty underrated, in my opinion. Hands down, one of the best ones. Alright, this one was a little bit short, but I hope you did like it. So, what did you think about this? Did you like Salty and Cranky in N-scale form? Please let me know in the comments below. Personally, I give Cranky a 10 out of 10. He's pretty cool. Salty is alright. I would give him a 8 or 9 out of 10. I think he could have been a little bit more interesting, like, in terms of character, but still, Salty's pretty nice. Along with Harvey and Elizabeth, who I can't wait to review soon. And if you're excited for more N-scale videos, please tell me in the comments below, because I'm probably going to have, like, a lot more to talk about, and I'm probably going to, like, have a lot more N-scale projects in mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!